Today I'm at the Hovercraft Museum. I'm going to have a look round a selection of hovercraft. There's a surprise. Let's just get on with it. So this is the prototype of the first kind of lightweight 1 or 2 man hovercraft, and then it went in production as this one. And this is all in the main hangar, so we've got plenty to look at. There's this rescue hovercraft they're trying to get running. It's got a Vauxhall Vectra engine, but it's all been rewired and they're trying to fix the wiring and get it to start. But something doesn't want to spark. These two are from Scrap Heap Challenge. So this one here, you can tell it's the roof of a transit van upside down. But apparently you can still see the episode on YouTube. And then coming around, there's a couple of models. And there's a really nice one of the SRN4 here. Nice view. Get a nice view down the car deck. But yeah, this is the main hangar. So this is the BH7. So originally Saunders Roe made the hovercraft. So you had this SRN1 was the first one, Saunders Roe Nautical 1, and that went up to 6. And then this is BH7, British Hovercraft 7, when the company changed. So we're going to go and have a look inside this. It's a military hovercraft. I've not been in yet, so I'm not quite sure what to expect. So it looks like we've got kind of a vehicle deck here. A big old radar screen. And then either side of the vehicle deck, some seating. There's a model here. You can get an idea from the model where we are. So coming through this front loading ramp. And like a mess kitchen. Let's carry on the tour. Let's check out the other side. Lots of radar screens. And of course, a toilet. It's not in use. Okay, we come all the way to the, that's the aft, isn't it? We came in through the front. There's an area you can't go through the perspex, and yeah, I don't quite know what to say. We'll come through here. I think that must be a way through to the engine room. And then this is the other end of the galley. And then up here, where you can't go, that's the flight deck. Hopefully we'll get a better view of a flight deck of something, maybe the SRN4. Let's head that way now. I'm going to go back out. This thing here is alright, I suppose, but you know, I'm not a big fan. So that was a BH7. I think next we're doing the SRN4. So these are the exhaust pipes for the Rolls-Royce jet turbine engines. The craft is looking a little bit worse for wear, but you expect that. It's so hard to keep something like this maintained. Just keeping the paintwork good would be almost an impossible task. It's good you can get up close, you can see the skirt attaches kind of like a hinge. Yeah, I can't wait to go inside. But first, there's some other craft here. So there's the AP188 and SRN6. Let's take a look at those. So this one I didn't recognise, but turns out it's just a variant of an SRN6, which is one of the most common hovercrafts ever. Except this is a landing craft, which is why it doesn't have that distinctive bodywork. So looks like the pilot and co-pilot never get to talk to each other, and there's probably a Land Rover in the way most of the time. Let's have a look inside. There is not a lot to see. Oh, this side looks more interesting. See some of the cockpit in there. Yeah. So this is the AP188. This is the only type of hovercraft I've ever been on, because until recently, about 5 years ago I think, this was the Isle of Wight hovercraft. Not this one, the Isle of Wight ones were hover travel, so red and blue. But yeah, this is the model that was used. And before that, they used SRN6s, which is kind of the first passenger hovercraft. And they've got a very iconic shape. I've got a toy Matchbox one that's Harry's now. But yeah, this kind of rolled top, very distinctive, with the air intake above and two props at the back. So I've just been reading up on this SRN6. So there's an SRN5 which is about that long, and an SRN6 is longer, and this is, I think, the first SRN6, except it was then lengthened in 1972 to become a Super 6. I have to go back to fit everything in, and it went from single prop to dual prop. But apparently the oldest operational hovercraft in the world. I don't think you just get in and turn it on. The skirt looks a bit rotten, but apparently it hasn't been that many years since it last moved. Right, let's keep heading round. Keep walking past this massive SRN4. So in the cafe, they have a lot of models. There are way more models of SRN4s than there are actual SRN4s. So I'm going to pick out a few of interest. So we've got the SRN6, which is the most typical hovercraft, and I found an SRN5 we'll get to straight after this. There's a few cutaways of the SRN4, but it's a particularly interesting one further down. This is the French rival, the N500, and it was written by SNCF, so the French Railways, because SRN4 originally was run by British Rail. Quite get the link between trains and hovercraft, but the skirt on this was weird. If you find a video of it operating, they look really crazy. What else? So, got the SRN, oh no, it's the Vickers A3, which is similar to the SRN2, which is another prototype craft, no longer exists. We'll go further down. Right, these are the ones I want to show you here. So here we can get an overhead cutaway view, so you can see the cars go through while the passengers sit on the two sides. So when we go in the SRN4, you can bear that in mind and get an idea for where we are. This one's even more of a cutaway, and this has got 7 lanes of cars. I'm sure they only had about 4 lanes. The last one I'll show is this. This is the hover travel colour AP188. Tenacity, one of the first ones. Yeah. Right. This is just over here. There's the hangar. We're going to go into the hangar. In fact, let's walk in. Let's do this as a walk. Because it comes out right by our SRN5. And this SRN5 is kind of the archetypal hovercraft. It was the first passenger hovercraft, but with this one, you can see that's where the air would go in, and that's the lift fan. You can actually kind of look around inside the body, so the air will get blasted into this cavity and then out here down into the skirt. So it's amazing being able to see inside and see what the technology was, and when you look, it actually seems quite simple in the end. And then you've got obviously the prop going through some control surfaces. We can go on board the SRN5, have a look inside. It's quite a small craft. This is way smaller than the SRN6s. There's a few seats, and then you share the cabin with the pilot. And a navigator who has a radar. So it feels a little bit like a helicopter in here. We've got a joystick which only moves a little. Rudder pedals. A handbrake, which I'm guessing is like maybe a collective lever. Maybe that controls the height, but it has a handbrake button, so clearly you can set it. Various gauges, obviously we've got speed in the middle, fuel. This is kind of a safety switch. Big compass. Prop pitch and temperature. I'm guessing that's not fuel, because fuel's over here, so clearly they decided they needed an additional gauge. And then up here there are a few other gauges as well. Yeah, this would have been a lot of fun to fly. I should stop pretending and carry on with the tour. But while we're up here, let's point a few things out. This is the hovercraft that Pierce Brosnan drove in Die Another Day. This is the hovercraft, just to illustrate that small child, that the baddies flew in Die Another Day. And the child is watching the video clips from the film. This is the cockpit, and we'll have a look on the inside of the Princess Margaret SRN4. So it's good to look in that, and sadly that craft's no longer with us. It got dismantled a few years ago. And then there's some other crafts, but most interestingly this SRN6 here, which is not extended like the one outside. This is the most used hovercraft in the world. So it's from 1965, and it was used, I think, I'll read the sign again. I'll put it on the screen. I think till 2000. Around the local area, so the most extensively used hovercraft. But let's go and have a look inside the window and look at the cockpit of the SRN4. In fact, I might even cut. Let's try and keep this simple, and I will just walk over. So yeah, this looks about as complicated as Concorde. In the back of the cockpit is the radar station, and this is a lot more modern. I mean, these were in service till 2000. And then right in the back, apparently this is, according to the staff, an analog computer controlling all of the hydraulics to control the propellers, which way the whole propellers point, as well as the feathering of individual blades. And it's an analog computer out of a nuclear missile, which is just nuts. Oh yeah, and they've got some Halloween stuff going on. Apologies for the flicker. Yeah, that's the Hovercraft SRN6. This is the Hover Mini, a Mini grafted onto the Hovercraft. You can see they've got this storage box open. Let's look at the real thing. So there's a Royal Mail logo, because this is how the post gets to the Isle of Wight. Life raft storage, where you think there's probably the prop shaft, because that tube goes all the way along and then out the back to where the prop is. So this is a single prop one, not like the double prop outside. Right, I think we're done with this hangar, let's keep going. Okay, there's one last thing to do before we go on the Princess Anne. There's another cockpit. This one's from Swift. And you can go in. There are probably more dials than Concorde in here.
Now the ramp.
Apologies for the exposure, but yeah, we've got obviously 4 engines going on. So engine controls. So that's quite similar to Concorde, where there's 4 of everything. But yeah, we've got hydraulic pressure, lubricating oil pressure, lubricating oil temperature, prop control pressure. It goes on. Oh, how much torque each engine's producing. So that would be the engineer's seat, and then here we are at the pilot's seat. They've got things like speed, compass, etc. But yeah, I don't think you could just jump in one of these and fly it. This is the analog computer. And then the radar station, which looks like the world's biggest pair of binoculars at this point. I don't know why they have 2, maybe different ranges.
Still okay.
Right. Let's go on the Princess Anne. Okay, here we go. On to the Princess Anne, up the ramp. Onto the car deck. So it's definitely 4 lanes of cars. That must be the way up to the cockpit.
In the good old days, we were allowed to take people.
So, plenty of hovercraft on here, and in fact, this isn't the first time hovercrafts have been on here. There were hovercraft clubs used to commission's the wrong word, I can't think of the right word, but used to hire this to go out to a sandbank in the middle of the English Channel and do hovercraft racing. Let's go through. We've just parked our car. We'll go through to the passenger area, and immediately we're opposite the door where the foot passengers would have come in. And yeah, here we are. It's aircraft style seating, 3+3. You've got to remember there's 2 cabins, 1 each side. Some life jackets next to the emergency exit. It's a little bit bigger just up here at the front. It's another entrance through to the car deck. This is a galley area. Radio cassette player. An old Hovercraft GB sticker. Right, let's walk to that. No idea for how long this is.
They're in here as you rip this now.
So apparently the posh seats are Premier class, which would be why there's the Premier sticker. Quick look out the window, that's the BH7. Oh yeah, these are the posh seats. Nice tables in between, apparently complimentary drinks. Still 3+3, so you don't get any width, but you do get a bit more foot room and a table.
Very good. Expendables 4. Very fun. Very good, actually, I have to say.
Oh, this looks more like the proper galley.
I'll change it up here, but it's going to be. Again, that one.
It's a bit being refurbished. So in this area that's been refurbished, you can see there's a bit of rot in the floor there. But this must be a section floor. This is like a lightweight foam.
Yeah, it feels like a train, yeah.
Okay, obligatory toilet shop. Looks like it's out of a caravan. And we're back to the car deck. So apparently the other side is exactly the same, except it's not, because they're turning it into classrooms, so it's closed. And you can tell we're at the back. So these would have been where the engines were. Sadly were, not are. And then you can see this gap here. This was the rear ramps, the rear loading ramps. So if you remember those 4 big exhaust pipes, that would have led from these engine bays. And this is one of the lift fans. So there were 4 of these raising this craft up, and then 4 propellers, so each engine had 1 fan and 1 propeller. Yeah, it's almost creepy in here. The last thing we're going to look at before we get off, or the last 2 things. Firstly, there's this little cabin here. That's where all the loaders that would get the cars on board would sit during the crossing. But then here, there's a couple of windows. And in the bottom one, it shows one of the forward lift fans, where it would be. And you go above, and you can see the air intake for it.